Now, I would like to let you all know that the next session we are having is on the topic Adapting to the Changing Landscape of Work, the Transforming Responsibilities of CHROs. Mr. Vikas Maheshwary, Global HR Transformation from Biocon Biologics, is a seasoned global HR professional with over 25 years of experience, excels in high growth and restructuring situations, leading HR transformation at Biocon Biologics, fostering diversity, digital culture, and ESG frameworks. Can we all invite Mr. Vikas Maheshwary on the dais?
A lot of you all have seen earlier, so in the morning when I saw you, I had a little shock. I said, from the previous conference, what is it that I have to speak new this time around? Yeah. But yeah, again, just like last time around, I'm overdosed on caffeine, and Sumit, that was an amazing presentation. I have a question for you. I mean, you didn't allow us a Q&A. How would you really define a great place to work, though? Since you guys acquired that company, right? So how would you define a great place to work? Is it too difficult a question?
Good surroundings, good people.
Free coffee.
Free coffee.
Excellent. Yeah, please. Psychological safety for employees. Lovely. Yeah, develop them, attract appropriately, retain them. Anybody else has a few thoughts? Yeah. Career progressions, learning. You don't talk about job security. Okay, great. I only have about 20. Oh, we don't even have 20 minutes now this time around, is it? Okay, I only have about 15 minutes. Okay, I disagree with you. Okay, and please don't kill me for this because I want to bring in a different perspective. And when I say disagree, I don't really disagree. I'm just trying to catch your attention. I have a business perspective on this. I think happy employees, okay, who enjoy the work are the ones who are productive. And then they're rewarded for that productivity. Okay, and of course, to build that productivity, you need to develop them, you need to do a whole lot of other things. But, a happy employee, to my mind, is a productive employee. And as HR, what is it that we really need to strive for? Is to build a system of artifacts where people are able to be productive. And that productivity necessarily may not mean only learning and development, may not mean free coffee, for sure, because a lot of HR heads here and the others who've spent decades in this, you can disagree with me, but I'm sure that every time you put a beanbag or a PS machine, your attrition rates didn't do nothing. They were still the same, if not higher. But if you build a certain kind of an ecosystem where people can be productive, I think possibly you'll be doing a better job and your CEOs and the others would be happy. So I keep saying that if you really had to ask me, VUCA or Bani, okay, last 25 years, I've been hearing this again and again. We've been talking about resilience. All of this is the norm. Nothing changes. Nothing has changed for the last 25 years. Every time somebody puts up the stats there to scare the hell out of us, saying, oh, something weird is going to happen. And then we start talking trends, okay? And when we say that, listen, the trend is that we will start looking at AI. Great. But all of these are just means and methods to achieve that final objective of what I keep saying, driving enterprise performance. And now stay with me. This is going to be a little different from what you guys have heard of earlier. And I promised you, sir, that none of this is going to be Google. Okay, a lot of this is stuff that you will not find on Google. So how do you drive productivity? Now, we as HR have always had things like performance management. We run performance management cycles. I love this process. Once in a year, at the end of the year, there's a judge and there's a jury. The HR manager and the manager. And we come and say, hey, listen, you gentlemen are good. You are bad. You are ugly. Force fit, ranks. What is it happening? The only thing that you're trying to do is, it's a rank and yank approach where you're force fitting people. You're not driving productivity. You're actually killing it. And then came somebody and they said about 10 years back saying, we'll do continuous performance management. Where instead of doing a 1-year judge and jury approach, we'll do it every few days. Every month, every quarter. We will not do it just once a year. We will be the judge and the jury probably every quarter. Okay, and then we start calling it continuous. Again, to my mind, it's a failed approach. The problem that you're not addressing here is that you're not looking at performance management as a proactive event. You're looking at it as a reactive event. That something happens and then you jump in to say, hey, listen, you did a bad job. But that's not what our job is. Our job is really to arrest the problem before that problem happens. I hope you agree with me. Would it not be so great if somebody was able to tell you, listen, in your life today, something bad is going to happen, okay? And these are the 4 actions that you need to do to ensure that that bad thing doesn't happen. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is enterprise performance management. And I'm going to just spend about 10 minutes to explain to you what that means. But then since I shared an agenda with Naveen and I said we'll talk trends, to my mind, these are the multiple trends, okay? Now, I had a choice to make that in this keynote, do I do a cover it all kind of a conversation? I just pick up one particular subject and I just do a deep dive on that. So I choose to only talk about enterprise performance management. Okay, I'll give you a use case so that you are able to understand enterprise performance management a little more in detail. Assume that you were a salesperson, okay? And I come from a pharma background, as in pharma industry. And we have these MRs and these sales folks who go and meet the doctors. Now imagine if in the morning at about 8:30, I was able to get a nudge on my mobile saying that, Vikas, you have a daily run rate of about 100 dirhams or $100, and you're not going to be able to achieve it. Okay, for certain reasons, it's going to be only 80 dirhams, $80, all right? Now this $20 you can protect if you were able to get in touch with Yogesh and speak to him because he in his funnel has 4 extra leads. And if you were able to convert them, you could possibly protect your 100 dirhams. Now, when you get this kind of a nudge, your life becomes simpler. Now, let's go into a different use case. So, I was in retail for a very long time, and we built this. So, I was in Dubai, and then we have this Ibn Battuta mall, and we have a big store there. And every morning the store manager would get a nudge on the mobile saying that, Mr. Store Manager, you're going to have a heavy footfall today, okay? But you know what? You don't have enough staff to fulfill that. Why? Because a lot of these people are on leave. Okay. However, and I know why you're smiling, because a lot of this I believe you guys also have taken care of in your product. But imagine if I was to get that nudge that from a mall of Emirates stores where the footfall is going to be less, there are 4 people who can potentially be coming to your store. If you're okay with it, click here. You click. Automatically a notification goes to the transport desk. The transport desk, instead of dropping those guys in the morning to Mall of Emirates, drop them to Ibn Battuta. And here is your problem solved. Now go a little further. At about 4:30 p.m. in front of Ibn Battuta Mall, there's a huge accident. And this is real, guys. There's a huge accident and there's a huge traffic jam and whatever. And therefore, people are not coming to the mall. So for the next 2 hours, the footfall expected to the mall is going to be extremely low. So again comes a notification saying that, hey, listen, you will have a crisis here. However, click here, speak to the marketing manager. The marketing manager launches a SMS or a WhatsApp or an email campaign to drive e-commerce business. So for the next 2 hours, whatever sales you will not have because people are not coming, are protected from somewhere else. Now, these are real use cases. None of this is fancy. And that's what enterprise performance management is. Now, what are you doing as HR people? You are creating these use cases and user stories in your organization where you're helping people to become productive, which I said is the real core of what our jobs are. And people will love you for that because then they are ensured that their KPIs are met, okay, and then they get rewarded. Now, the problem is if you don't reward them at the end of the year, then you have a bigger problem in hand and back to attritions and back to retention problems and all of that. The way to do this, okay, the start point to my mind is the KPIs, all right? We all suffer with that. We do not have KPIs which are appropriately written. We have KPIs. I remember in this organization that I was working with, the KPI somebody had a senior leader. I will move the needle on my performance this year. That's a goal. That's a KPI that this person is chasing with a 30% weightage. How do you measure this? The best way to do this is that start from something as simple as set clear KPIs. So the traditional exercise of strategic goals, and then you drive KPIs, smart KPIs from all of that, and then you cascade, align, etc., but add one more component there, and that's called building causality. That if your goals are not talking to each other with a cause and an effect relationship, you've not done a good job. So you should, at any point of time, know that if a certain KPI, okay, the performance on that KPI dings, then what is the impact on the entire value chain? This is a consulting exercise. This has got nothing to do with tech, all right? So you start from there. Once you have the goal trees established or the KPI trees established with causality, with cause and effect, then comes the next part of how do you create an ecosystem which is full of technology where the system is able to understand that if a KPI of raw materials, let's say I was expecting some raw material, didn't come on time, what is the impact across goal trees? As you can see, And therefore, what is going to be the impact on production throughput? Now you can take it further to say what is going to be the impact on sales eventually. And this does not come to you if something happens here. There's an immediate notification and nudge that goes to all the holders of these KPIs across. So you don't have to wait for an event to happen here. That my production throughput has not happened. Why? Because something happened here. Something you will realize only after about 8-10 days. But you are able to arrest the problem the minute it happens and then take corrective actions. So this is where technology helps you, because the technology can read this data. Okay? So what do? You build something known as a data lake. A data lake is nothing, but it's a simple environment where all kinds of data can be hosted, whether it's Excel, whether it's PPTs, whether it's Word, whether it's data from multiple systems, your HRIMSs, your talent operating systems, your quality management systems, all of that data comes here. And then that goes into the performance management systems. So gone are those days when people used to enter goals. Okay, the goals are pre-fed. Gone are those days when people used to enter actuals against the goals, because those actuals also come from the system. So at any point of time, I can open up my goal sheet, and I wish I could show you. I could open up my goal sheet and say, okay, today, not doing too well. I'm at 80% of my performance. Some of my goals are at risk. All of this is coming from the system. If you have the right data lake, you have the right performance management system. And then comes the big piece. If you heard of or read this book called Behavioral Economics, quick show of hands. Oh, lovely. Then you would have heard of things like nudge theories. Yeah? And then comes this whole science of, how do you nudge people to take an action? And those nudges are basic. They come on your chatbot and they inform you. So you are looking at not just predictions that something is going to go wrong, but you're also looking at prescriptions that because this is going to go wrong, what is the action that you should take? And that's the prescriptive layer that you build. Okay. The problem with these 20 minutes, 15-minute TED Talk kind of formats is that, you can only talk so much and you can only share so much. So I have tried to give you a thought starter, okay, to start thinking and performance management a little differently. And if you go back to your offices and say, hey, listen, from next year onwards, there's no more continuous performance management. There's proactive performance management. And you're not just managing HR problems, you're managing business problems. Okay, and you're building the ecosystem for the leader to be able to drive the right kind of behavior and the right kind of productivity throughputs. I think you would have done a great job. So that's it. Okay, as I said, I love my deadlines. So I have about 3 minutes. If you have any questions, we can use that for Q&A, which Sumit didn't allow you an opportunity for. Yeah. No? Too heavy? Yeah, please.
I'm Raj Shekhar. Whether the scenario in the previous era of the businesses or today, without a properly driven goal setting or objective setting or target setting, etc. and so on, versus a kind of defined system of assessment or evaluation or appraisal, whatever. But I don't think so that there is a superficial or supreme system which can really assess the people towards identifying them where they stand. And you were mentioning about gone are the days that goals are no more, KPIs are no more, etc. and so on. Can you try to give a bit
no,
more
I'm not saying gone are the days when KPIs are no more. KPIs exist. Gone are the days when you spend hours filling up a KPI form. Yeah, it's the time that we as HR, we torture people. Okay, he's recording me. But we torture people, isn't it? Go and ask your people. They will tell you, some form has come, I'm supposed to fill up. I remember this one company that I used to work with, and they used to do 2 hours of counseling session on how to fill up an IDP form. You go back to the CEO and say, dude, you're basically wasting 2 hours of productivity for this person. Now go to manufacturing, kind of a setup, the one that I come from. Every hour is important. You're losing some output for that time. So what I'm saying is that KPIs still exist. But gone are those days when you have to fill up KPIs and people then fill whatever random they want to fill. So you basically get a pre-populated KPI sheet. The targets is what you discuss with your managers. And you say, listen, on this is what I can achieve. The manager says, no, I want to do more. Those conversations still hold its value. The second point that you made was assessments. I'm again saying data, and Sumit made that point right up front in the beginning. Data is the most important piece. If I have to do 100 rupees of sales, and I have done 110, why do I need a manager to come and tell me outstanding? Simple question. Why can't the system just straightforward say, hey, listen, you've done a great job? Why do you even need a manager? Why can't you believe the system output of the rating? That can only happen if your KPIs are smart, objective, have the cause and effect relationship. If they are English statements, this cannot happen. Then you need an English manager to come and give you an input. I hope that answers. Yeah? Sorry, ma'am, please.
Yeah. Can I?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. My name is Sundarajan. You gave a very good compact in 20 minutes. You know, it's most challenging. What I want to know is 80-20. 80% of the organizations, including HR, are reactive and they are not proactive. And 20% of the organizations have KPI, and the problem is data and tracking it, which the performance management system has to mature than being reactive. So the hybrid model of development of people is extremely important.
True.
So what is, and this approach of KPI and tracking is top-down approach. So what's your experience?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, when I was looking for a system like this, like you said, you know, there's only 20% of the organizations who are mature enough to understand this, and there are only a handful of technology platforms that enable something like this. It was a nightmare. And then I ended up doing something, which was build my own data studio, link it to the traditional performance management system that I had. You know, there was some bit of a digital orchestration that I did, which helped me achieve that goal. But you know what? You spoke about Pareto. There are only 20% of the organizations who are successful as well. I mean, the rest are still struggling. The reason they are struggling is because they're not doing what the other 20% are doing. So you got to choose whether you want to be on the 20 or the 80% side. But I'll tell you what, this is more consulting. This is more HR than it is tech. You also know it that when you go back to your organization and you do a goal audit, half those goals don't make sense. 70% of those goals don't make sense. Let's start from there. That's something which is in our control. Okay, and that's where we need to have a subject matter expertise who understands the line of business. That's where a lot of HR leaders say that, you know, please understand business. You know, I mean, we still kind of get stuck in our attrition and the other goals, but we need to understand, you know, the entire value chain in an organization, construct goals around that. Once you have that intelligence in play, even an Excel can solve that problem for you then. Okay, but the problem is that we don't understand our KPIs. Sorry, ma'am, there's one question at the end. Yes, please.
Hi. So for the first question that you asked, right, what makes employees, I mean, your answer was that a happy employee. I think you wake up and you want to go to work, 99% of your problems are solved. But having said that, most of your explanations you've given is very quantitative in nature. It's always impact driven. But right now I've taken an approach, or a lot of us are learning that, saying that, you know, work at a level of significance. Don't look at the output. Do your best. See what comes up. So this becomes completely like, everything is quantitative, right? Everything is like numbers. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
So when we talk about performance management, we talk about what we do and how we do it as well. Here, the what is measured. For the how aspect, you still need to have the judge and the jury, or the people and all the responses around it.
You're absolutely right.
And to add to it, I lose my power to say what I have. Even right now, most of our performance systems have the opportunity for the employee's viewpoint to be put there, right? But if I'm going to go with something that's going to be dictated by the system, I disempower my employees of giving that view. So how are you planning to tackle these aspects of how and employees within the tool?
Yeah, okay. Again, I only have 20 minutes, so I could only cover the, you know, one side of it, the other side I could not. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the how doesn't matter, but the how is not the goal. The how is a project plan, right? The how will you achieve a KPI is a project plan. It's a task list. The output of that task list is your goal, or the outcome of that task list is your goal or a KPI, right? So that distinction. But what I'm trying to say is that we are good at the how side as HR. We are good at everything subjective, but we're not great on the quantitative side. So I took some time to, you know, stress upon the quantitative side of it, not to say that the qualitative side of it doesn't matter. Different systems, different tools do different things. Performance management measures performance. A project management tool measures your output and the timelines and the roadmaps, etc. A listening ecosystem measures the survey feedbacks, etc. So different tools do different things, and let's stick to that. But yeah, I am with you on this. You're spot on. But I only had 15-20 minutes, and I chose to talk about the part that we don't really focus on. Yeah? Okay, guys, my time has been up for a while. Thank you so much. You've been a patient audience. If you have more questions, I'm around.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vikas, for that wonderful session. I would like to now call upon Mr. Sumit Doshi, Country Manager India at UKG, on the dais to felicitate Mr. Vikas.